Today we're just going to see in a 9 series, we're just going to update the steering wheel on it. So all Toyotas have the same steering wheels spline, so you can actually like pull these over and like new one goes on. We're going to use like wireless steering wheel control, so you don't need to actually adjust the clock spring, because the clock spring's only got pins in there for the cruise control, and that's about it. If you did want to use hardwired, you'd have to change the clock spring or add pins to the clock spring depending on your car. But you can see how this looks currently, and we'll be putting in the new one, which will give us steering wheel controls through to here.
Here is you've got 2 bits of trim that pop off, so get your trim tool in there. We'll use a flathead screwdriver, pop off that, it'll just slide off over the cruise control. And then in here we've got a couple Torx screws we have to get to, and then we're going to do the exact same on the other side here. This one here pops off, and again there's some Torx screws in there. The T30 in here, undo it. There's one on both sides. After that comes off, you should just be able to pull off your horn pad here. Then behind the horn pad, you've got a couple things that have to come off. Out of these, you just sort of flick up the tab and pull off, and here is just your horn power. We'll take both like those off. That's the detonator for the airbag, and that's the horn earth. You just need to get a flat head underneath that and pop that oil trim tool. This one was actually snapped on the top, so just be careful. Straight under there, you can see that's actually lifted up now. And then once that's all lifted up, the plug will just like wiggle out. That's just your feed to your detonator. Again, linked to the sensors. At least the sensor, there isn't going to be any feed going down there. And then the trim one here, the one here, you can just unplug there or take off that part there, either. That's the horn pad off. These little spade connectors, always at the back of them, have this little tab here. You push that tab down, that's how it unlocks. They come off. At the start, before you actually do all this, drive the car sort of back and forward a few times so the wheel is as straight as you get it and the wheels are straight, because it can be a bit like annoying sometimes if the wheel is slightly off center. Now these are normally like 19, you'll need like a socket on there, a 19 mil. Probably need like extension one, but again, you just need to hold the wheel as you undo it. You can see once this is undone, I'll spin this off to almost the end, and then you want to get in the car and give the other wheel a few pulls from each side. So if we go, a little hit there actually was all it needed. Love tap to get it off. Then you'll see we'll spin this off and the whole wheel will remove. That's the wheel off there. Obviously that is the original clock spring there. Feels a bit dicey, but that's all right. So that is it. Just when you're taking off, leave that nice little nut on, because then it will stop the wheel flying into you. And then on this one, I had to give it a bit of a bang on the back. It was actually pretty loose. Like some of them are super tight. Who knows? This could have been replaced before. Unsure. The fact that actually this snapped off is a bit of a sign that something has gone on. But anyway, we will put the new wheel on and then go from there. In these holes here, you can actually see. It might be a bit hard to see, but there's like a rod. And these rods just have to be flicked past. I'll show you once I've done on this one. Past the part that I'm holding on to, and that drops off your horn pad. So you can see the rods are like clipped into here, and I'll show you on this side and you'll see what I mean, hopefully. These rods here we had to move. So 1, 2, 3. And you can just like shift them, just with a flathead screwdriver. That is how the horn pad comes off. Now if we take this screw off, we can slide our wheel through, and we can see how in the middle we are. Hopefully we had it pretty well lined up from where we had the old wheel. Hopefully we're pretty much like center there. So that's basically it, and we can tighten up this here again, and then we can go from there. So we'll spin this on a bit, like so. We can probably actually check, I haven't checked our manual for like a while, but I'm sure there's a perfect torque amount for like the wheels. Just like get that to there for now. Hopefully it's pretty much sort of pretty flush. You'll see when you kind of like drive off if it is or not. And now we'll go to the next stage. So here you can see about 2 Phillips for the cruise control. Pull both of these off, and so this will just go straight back into this same spot on like our wheel, because they're the same like mold. It'll just go straight back in there. So pull that through and out, and then we will slot it into our wheel. So grab this, slide it in through the hole, and then you will see you can get it to line up with the exact same spots as the old one was, because it's basically the same. Put those 2 screws back in, and then we'll be good to go, and we'll have our cruise control there. Obviously that's just going to plug back into here, because that's where you took it out from, and we'll put those 2 screws back in. So just putting these 2 screws back in here, like so. That is your cruise control. Just fits in exactly like the other one does. All done, cruise control in. So next up, we've got the sender, the wireless sender.
in the wheel here. So this is what it looks like. Big white plug goes to this big white plug. Fairly straightforward, clips in. This blue spade connector goes to the horn connector. Now, see how you go with the connection on these? I normally push this little tab in a bit and then plug it in. Then you want to insulate, tape that, heat shrink it, whatever you want to do to keep it safe. This here is going to go to an earth. This is all off the spline, so all these screws go through to the casting here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, you can choose where you want to put it to, like so. And then this one here is obviously going to plug onto the horn pad that we took off. And then what this does is you push on here and it's going to send wirelessly the ones to the radio. Now after we've put like this in, tidy like this up, I'll show you what we do, but we're just going to put it in here, some double-sided stick, zip ties, so it's all tidy now the way, and then that'll be about it. You'll notice these wheels have like these in them. They aren't going to do like anything on this car. Sometimes we even have the lane departure buttons in there. The reason we put them on is because this is basically like the Hilux wheel. In the budget Hiluxes, the Povo packs, they actually like blanked off, and it looks terrible when they're blanked off. So you're better having the buttons here doing like nothing and like looking better than not having them. Obviously all these will work. So that is the sender. I'll tidy that up and I'll show it to you. And then we will pull out like the radio. And I'll just have a quick look. I think we should be able to get it to work with the factory radio, and then we'll show you how it will work with an aftermarket radio too. There we go there. The sender's a double-sided tape down the back there, you can see it up against the back of the wheel down there. We've taped up that horn wire there. You just want to keep them out of the way, obviously, of these are going to come through, and that's really about it. And so you can always get to the side screws anyway, so they're okay. And we've screwed our earth in underneath there, so the earth's in. That is basically done. Now we'll go and start on the other end here behind the head unit. So head unit, pretty straightforward. Hope I can get my hand. Trim tool. Pop off the old one. If you have one of our head units, you will have these trim tools. There is just this in the top, which is your hazard. This is the workmate, so it hasn't got it, but that would have been the clock plug. If you can see that all right, sorry. Zoom in a little bit for you. Yeah, so hazard, clock plug. This just pulls off. Pretty easy all done. Then you got 1, 2, 3, 4. This whole radio will pull out. Toyota's famous 10mm. A lot of stuff in this car's. It feels like it's been out before, but I'm not sure if it would have, but who knows. Now, first up, what we'll cover is we'll obviously cover our head units because a lot of our customers will have those, but basically any head unit should be able to have this working on it, because your steering wheel controls basically have 3 wires, key 1, key 2 and ground. Now, if you were using the clock spring, and even some models of 70 series, I've actually seen they have the other wire coming in the back here. This one I don't believe has. It is the workmate version, so interesting. It's got one thing going on here. I'll have a quick nose at it, because on our sender, this is a receiver, and normally, see that plug here? So this is your factory radio. That might plug in, but I did see there was one wire on here that was actually being used, which is this purple wire, which I think is the reverse sensor. We will find out in a second. So we'll actually see if, just by doing this, we can get the factory controls working. So on the factory radio, you might be able to use this plug. On our radios, we have this plug in the harness, you can use it. If you don't have it, there's like a manual key 1 and key 2 wire, so you could use these two instead of this. If you using this, you don't need that, and if you using this, you don't need these, so they go out of the way. And then over here, this little speaker wire, not needed. These power wire, yes, are needed. It's only been used to tap power, so all you need to do is choose which one you want to tap it out of, and it always has this random one because they're taking the antenna amp from here, so you're better off on the factory radio to wiggle this one out and tap it from there. So plug our one into here, like so. If it fits in, it's a little bit stiff. The problem is if we plug it in back here, in the end I ended up plugging it into the patch cable. So you can see our one's plugged into here. The patch cable doesn't matter, you just have to make sure, and our harness has got power on it, that you got power going to this antenna amp wire. So that's basically that. What we can do now is turn the car on and test the receiver and the transmitter are already paired because they are a pair. If you do have to pair them, and you can see if it's solid, it is pair. You can use the key button if you do have to pair them. So you can see I've got the radio on. I'll turn it up. There it is, and
I can do it. It's working the steering wheel controls. So you can see it's coming up and down there. And skip works. So this is the only thing you do have problems with when you try and use the factory unit. Up and down works, skip works, skip forward does like volume up, mode skip station, microphone does nothing, and key up, phone up does sound up. So that's what you're going to get. So a volume up and like down are going to like work, and you're going to be able to skip and change like stations, and that is about it. If you're also on like Bluetooth or whatever, you could skip songs, or if you're playing like a CD, you could skip songs. Phone and hang up don't do what they're supposed to do, and this doesn't either. Now, we can't change that because we can't access like learning in this like unit. If you had an aftermarket unit, you could. So if you do want to put this in to the factory like radio, you are basically going to get forward, so volume like working, a skip button like working, and that's about it. Which, to be honest, most people just use volume up and down and skip, but the mute would be handy. But that is what it is. We can't change that. So if you are doing the factory, that is it. Now we will cover the aftermarket. Okay, now steering wheel controls on the aftermarket unit. Obviously, I'm covering our unit here. Depending what you have, could be the same, could not. If you get stuck, get in touch with us. But basically, you've got a key 1 and a key 2 wire on these wires, and in here. And in here, you've got key 1, key 2, and the ground. So those are the ones you want to use. But so for our one, this is our harness all hooked in, 79 series with no factory camera. So all we really have going on is FM, AM, power and speakers, power as well. We've like piggybacked our receiver into here, so that's all good. And then on our harness, we have the steering wheel control wire plug here, so that's gone into there, and that is all going to work. So what we'll do, throw that into our one. We might as well put the FMAN plug in so we have something happening, and I'll show you what we do. Now, majority of units, if they're aftermarket, they should be kind of the same. You just have to do a steering wheel control learning process. This is the part we couldn't do before in the factory unit, and that's why we couldn't choose what we kind of wanted each button to do. So once this boots up, right, sound coming through. Now if I push our buttons, nothing happened. Home, like settings. This is our M series. If you don't have our M series, you might have a different one. Check the video. We're going to scroll down, steering wheel controls. Now we're going to press volume up. It's like flashing. Now what I'm doing over here is I'm pressing that volume up on the button, on the steering wheel. I missed it too slow. You see it stop flashing, you get the volume down, stop flashing, skip, done, skip back, done. I like to set, we'll put the VD mode app on here, so we'll set mode as mode. Microphone can be like microphone. Then you can use, you've got hang up, and you can use those however you want. Like I always like to have a back button. I like to have my hang up as a back button, and I like to have my answer as home. Just because I like to be able to go home easily. So now I'm doing volume up on the wheel. Happy days, skip. We'll skip stations. If I push the mode button, we'll put the VD app on here so it works better. And then if I press my back button, and then I'll get my home button. So here we go, all of them working as they should be. And that is basically it all done and hooked up. Fairly straightforward. Now we'll go through and we'll finish off with the wheel, which all we have to do is tighten and put this horn connector on, and then put our 2 screws on either side. Now you just got your detonator here, so 8mm around these. So spin all these off, lift it up. I like to hold these the same way up. That way I know when they're going in and putting them in the same. Now in this detonator is the 2 chemicals that react when they get a charge on them, which is what your sensor sends, your airbag sensors send. If you ever have a prang or something like that happens, they shoot that through. And then once they're all back in, it's a bit of a squeeze. You're pushing it down. It's pushing the shafts back down. Let's put a flat head under there and help you get the bolt started like that, just to hold up that thread, because they can just slip down a little bit. Just standard star formation as you go around. In case the wheel comes in, is a good spot to do this, just so you don't damage obviously the front. That's the detonator in now. So we've tightened up that. We hope we've got it in the middle. We will soon find out. Now remember, you had 2 plugs going on here. One was the detonator one. So once it's in, click that top button down again, and the other is the horn spade connector. I'll just get that in too, and I'll show you. So push the yellow tab down, horn spade one on. That's the 2. Now obviously when you push this in, you'll give it a little toot, but if you just give it one good push, you'll wake up the neighbours at the same time and get the wheels in, which is always handy. So that's the wheel on there. Avoid my sweat, she is hot today. The wheel's in, we've got our torque screws either side to tighten up, which we'll do. Then we'll put our covers back on, but that's basically the wheel almost installed. Cut that little bit about torque screws. We don't have those on this wheel. So there you go, that's it all in, all looking pretty slick. We try to keep our logo in line with the Toyota style logo. Obviously we can't use the Toyota logo because it's their logo, but that is the wheel in. We have a couple options of these. We have smooth or we have perforated. You should be able to see pictures of both on our website and you can check them out and see what you think.